Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Knock On podcast, brought to you by the good people at Zero Tackle. And Dan, look, I have changed locations tonight. I'm actually in my lounge room. The weather here is terrible. It's very, very noisy in my office. And speaking of noise, there is so much noise around. Apparently there's a massive game of footy coming next Wednesday, and it's denied us a full round of rugby league this weekend, Dan. But what are the big talking points?
Look, more on that later. Funny you mention it, but let's get straight into it. On our other show, Rugby League Outlaws, please like and subscribe. We didn't get to discuss the Queensland side. We're going to do this now. Now, you led by saying when you saw the proposed side that you were a little bit scared. Please explain to us why before I have my say on the Queensland Origin team.
Oh, even before the Queensland Origin team was leaked, announced, rumoured, I said to you that I was worried. I said that I was very worried, and you said to me, why are you worried? On the weekend that just went, all four Queensland teams played. 3 played at home, 1 played away, and all 4 teams lost. One of the Queensland teams is coming last. 2 of the Queensland teams are very inconsistent in the Cowboys and the Dolphins, and the Broncos just can't find their identity. Now, what are the majority of those 4 teams made up of, Dan?
Queenslanders.
And I haven't checked the updated ladder, but I think that the Cowboys and the Broncos are hanging into the top 8 by the skin of their teeth, and the Dolphins are probably around about 11th, and the Titans are last on for and against. That is really worrying because you can't turn around and, like, even Daly Cherry Evans, the captain, Manly, hot 1 week, garbage the next. Go home against the Sharks. They go home off a bye and play the Sharks, who had a quick turnaround in Magic Round, had to fly back and go to that dump out at Brookvale, and they got smoked. And then Manly backed that up by going up to Townsville and giving the Cowboys an absolute hiding. Yeah. The inconsistencies of the form of the players being picked. Like someone said to me, Mo Fotuaika has deserved his origin spot. Mo Fotuaika is a starting prop in a team coming last, and you're not seeing the best out of him. So I don't know if you're going to see it in the Origin arena, but like guys like Ruben Cotter, Jeremiah Nane was dropped for being terrible, and he's come back pretty good to his credit. The one player that I could turn around and say to you that was actually in really, really good form, and I was excited to see how he matched up on the wing, was Murray Salungi, and now he's injured. And they've gone and picked a rookie in the centres, and when the leak came out that a rookie was getting picked in the Queensland centres, I thought it was Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
110% I thought it was Purdue. And it's Rob Toyer. Now, nothing against him as well, but he's in a Roosters team fighting for an identity, not in the top 8. Has his form been really good? Talk to me about the Queensland team, Dan.
I was shocked, mainly at the bench, to be honest. I don't like Ruben Cotter starting out wide. Now, I've since had some people reach out to me on X and say that he played out there when there was an injury and one man of the series or something. I honestly can't remember that. I don't like the bench. I think it lacks. Look, I don't think he should be there, Spencer-Leno, but it lacks a Spencer-Leno. Corey Horsburgh had to be in that team.
Oh.
I like Trent Liero. You and I are both big fans of his, a long way before a lot of other people. When that was named, I'm like, I can't believe they picked Liero because I just don't think he's been setting the world on fire.
I can believe that they picked Liero. It's both Fermor I can't believe they picked not started.
Yeah. I would have thought he would start on the edge that he's been playing for the Titans with a middle Ruben Cotter moved to the bench. But anyways, look, there's some. Xavier Savage is a player that I thought was going to get picked when they mentioned a rookie. He's in tremendous form, and I thought, well, Val would just stay in the centres. Robert Toyer, though, good young kid, tremendous. Scored some wow tries. Had an error the other night where he should have scored, but otherwise has been pretty darn good this season. He's not going to have a great sleep this week knowing that he's up against Latrell Mitchell, who's proven time and time again, no matter what his form, if he puts that sky blue jersey on, he becomes an absolute killer out wide. I think the New South Wales, I think Moses and Cleary have said, cool, every time we see Latrell 1-on-1, he gets the ball. I wish Toyer all the best. I don't want a blowout, but if Latrell gets up on top of Toyer, like I know he can, that could be a route to victory.
You have a look at the New South Wales team that's been picked. You have a look at the Queensland team that's been picked. If New South Wales are serious, that's 3-0 and not one game is close.
Yeah, look, that's completely fair. And look, I don't want to go in too hard on the Queensland team because they're just likely to watch this before the game run out and belt us.
We know they're going to watch this.
Well, yeah, they do, and I don't want to give them any ammunition. But that's what Queensland love. They love being the underdogs, and boy, they're going to play into it. But we'll move on more on Origin. We got 2 more games to talk about. Ryan Papenhuyzen, in pretty good form, was linked with an Origin look, probably behind Tedesco and Dylan Edwards, who's held his spot, and I think that's right. Lucky to escape this weekend with no charge after Ronaldo Mulatalo was on the ground prone, swinging arm from Papenhuyzen, where Adam G said, if there's time left, I'm sin binning you. I would penalise, but there isn't. Let's just get this game done. It's getting out of hand. No charge. What are your thoughts?
If the NRL is anything, they're consistent because they did the same thing to Reid Marnie when he did it to Dan Atkinson on the floor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if a player's lying prone on the floor, apparently the NRL have said you can go and whack them.
Swinging up.
Cool.
Look, let's be honest, the shot wouldn't have hurt. It wasn't venomous. It wasn't like he was trying to kill him or hurt him. But he hit him high with a swinging arm, and Adam G said, I would have sin binned you.
Yeah.
And the matching committee has said, not even a $2,000 token fine.
I think there was an element of venom in that shot from Ryan Papenhuyzen because Ronaldo Mulatalo had been an absolute pest all game, and he was just laying there on the floor. Someone said, oh, he was trying to knock the ball out of his hands. Well, if he was trying to do that, he's an idiot because that would have been a penalty. So he was trying to clock him.
He was
trying to put a shot on. Unfortunately, he hit him high. Look, I think Adam G nailed it. I think Adam G nailed the moment when he turned around and said, I could sin bin him, can't be asked, game over, Cronulla win.
Yeah, that's fair.
He said, I'm not even going to give a penalty because I don't want the kick to touch and I don't want to waste everybody's time. You're all here, let's just shake hands and get it over with.
Yeah.
But the fact that they haven't even given, Reid Marnie got a show cause for a concerning act. They didn't even give Ryan Papenhuyzen that.
No, that was my issue with it. Not that it was a horrible shot. And look, the replies again on X, because I put stuff out there to see what people think before I bring it on here, was that Ronaldo deserved it and there was nothing in it. Look, I probably agree with both of those. And Ronaldo would be the first player to say, oi, I deserved it. But you can't hit a bloke in the head with a swinging arm while he's on the ground. I don't care what time it is. I don't care if you're playing at the ball. I don't care what it is. He should have been charged. He should have been given a $1,000 grade 0.01. You just can't be doing that stuff. And it's real bad because I joked this week, if it's close and you're in the last play, just go drop kick them. Just whatever. They're not gonna sin bin you. They're not gonna
while they're on the ground. Yeah.
So I was a little bit, not say I'll let down because I don't really can. It didn't affect anything in the world. But, I think Pap should put $1,000 on the bar this week as a make good for that. But from something very funny to something very serious, and I'm actually a little bit worried about how this is going to end. The Perth Bears are will reportedly down to 2 names for the coaching honours, Mal Meninga and Sam Burgess, with the thought that they could form a super team to coach together. This worries me greatly.
What happened to Brad Arthur?
Evidently, he's out. Evidently, Kevin Walters has been said thank you, but no thank you, despite Fox Sports' best efforts to get their mate into another job he doesn't really agree. Mal Meninga of fame, a couple months ago, 12 months ago now, pretty much went on and said that he's got the Bunnies job, and then they rang him and said, no, you don't. He sat there with a huge smile on his face saying, look, I'm going to put my hand up. If I don't get it, I don't mind, but it sounds like he's going to get it, and I don't like this at all.
Sure. I don't really care. To be honest, I don't. I'm glad they're not doing the let's try and get Wayne Bennett to go there, or let's try and pry Craig Bellamy out of wherever it is, or shock Ivan Cleary linked with a move to Perth. Whatever. Let Perth find their own identity, right? The thing about the Bears is, in the first 5 years, do you expect them to win a premiership?
Yeah.
No. But someone like Mal Meninga can go in there and build a culture.
Yeah, but after what he's left the Titans, is that a good culture?
Well, he wasn't the coach, right? He wasn't the coach of the Titans. And from everything that came out about that, and again, you only hear Mal's side of the story, but from everything that came out about that is they put him in this job and they paid him a lot of money and they gave him the last say. So, Mal turned around and said, I think we should go this way, but five other people said we could go that way. They went down that way and blamed him. That's what it sounded like. And that's like the Tim Sheens at the Tigers all over again. Like, it's not my fault. You guys let me hire myself and now you got to sack me. Like, that's on you. I think, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with the culture at the Titans. They just stink. Whatever.
I'm a rugby league fan first, Sharks fan second.
I'm not a fan of the Perth team anyway, so I hope they fail miserably.
See, that's what I'm scared of. If they go out there and they bring in, I don't. Burgess is a coach. You don't know in the Super League. Who cares? Who knows? He may be great. I know he's done some stuff, and I don't mean to roll my eyes. He's done some stuff, but nothing that he's been convicted of, etc., etc. So we'll put that aside. But this needs to succeed, or Perth will go the way of the Titans. In that, no one cares about the Titans anymore, mate. We joke about it, and we go into them with venom, and we joke and we say we like them. They're our second favorite team. Blah blah blah. No one cares. No one bites, good or bad. They just don't care. You go up there, you go to away games, and don't get me wrong, going to Perth's not easy, and it's not going to be like we can just pop up there like you can the Gold Coast and have a holiday. So I'm not worried about away fans going and swamping. But what I am worried is if they play the Warriors over there, there's more Warriors fans than Perth fans over there. They need to succeed early, which is why really they need to land. They need to nail this coaching. And I think now Meninga is, okay, don't get me wrong, he's a big name and he's got a lot of success in the Origin arena and he's done well with the Kangaroos. It's very different. We've seen Brad Arthur, more on that later, go to the Broncos and it's just not working at the moment. New South Wales last year, you had them all galvanised. More on that later.
Michael Maguire, you mean?
Yep, let's not talk about that. But I just... at least Brad Arthur had recent experience. You know who I'd send over there? I'd say, Sean Johnson, you interested? It's your club for 5 years, mate.
Sure.
Well, there we go. All right, now from something very serious to something not so serious. See what we're doing here? We're going serious, not serious. A podcast, not this one, recently sat down and I know they do exist, and recently discussed potential Perth Bear recruits. Threw up some names, some big name recruits, a lot of players who are going to turn them down, let's be honest. One name, though, that pricked my ears a little bit was one Kayal Iro. Pretty handy centre at the Sharks, if I do say myself. Hasn't conceded a try since he's come back from injury, has a try in every single game he played this year. It was floated that they could get him out of Cronulla for between $350 and $400K. If Perth are going to come in with those sorts of offers, they'll be laughed out and relegated to rugby union.
Centers don't really get paid big money unless they're like the marquee names. And whilst Iro is arguably the third best center in the competition this year behind Farnworth and Crichton, and you can put the three in any order, I'll hear you out. Yeah, like Stephen Crichton was signed on fullback money, and I think Herbie was given there might be a fullback option for you at the Dolphins until they got Hammer across the line. With Iro, I mean, what would you pay him? Like, what do you think he's worth? Because we just signed him for 2 years, and I don't think it would be much more than that. I think it would be the lower end of the figure that was quoted in the 350 mark.
What's Katoon Staggs just re-signed for? What, 8?
Yeah, that's a terrible move. Like, no one's turning around and saying that that's a great move. Like, that's a shocking deal on an inconsistent player. Yeah. Like, between me and you, if it was linked that Cronulla were offering him a 3-year, $1.5 million deal, I'd be a bit upset because you don't know what Katoon Staggs going to get. I think he's played like 1 or 2 good games this year. That means there's been 7 or 8 shockers. Mm-hmm. So, whereas Kayal Iro is like slowly climbing up that consistency mark, but he hasn't even played 50 first grade games yet. Okay. I would say that the money for Perth, like the money, that's probably the money that he re-signs with Cronulla for, right? So Perth have probably got to add $100,000 on it.
Easily. Now, the reason I have an issue with this is because Marky Mark, who's had a couple of good games, rugby union convert, was reportedly linked and I say linked in this fantasy world, 700K. Ridiculous. Alofi Khan Pereira was 500. So that says to me that they don't rate Kayal Iro because I have him over both those players
Oh,
substantially.
oh yeah. Like if you said to me, Terry, you're building the Perth Bears recruitment team, and you only get one of those three players, I'm not. Like once I get to Kayal Iro, I'm not even looking at the other two. Like Nwanga Nikitaze is going very, very, very well, and he's got some highlights, but he's got some shockers in him as well. His defense is a little bit suspect, and Alofi Khan Pereira is just the Gold Coast version of Alex Johnson.
Yes.
If he's not in space, he's really ordinary.
It is. I am using this segment to take a little shot here at the ridiculousness of it.
Oh, because I did see that they had Jesse Colehone for 150 grand. And I thought, what do they want? His head tape.
Like, look, it's ridiculous, these numbers. Now, I've seen some teams from other journalists, and I use the term loosely, and we are not journalists. Let's put that out there quickly. Where they've linked, Jerome Hughes and Ryan Papenhuyzen are off contract. They're both going to go for $1 million. Well, Hughes has said nah, and Papenhuyzen said probably not. Perth need to go over for the likes of Farlungo and Michael Gabriel was one that I saw linked, and I thought, yeah, look, that's one that Cronulla are probably going to struggle to hold on to with a genuine first grade spot over there. They're going to have to build from the inside out, and yes, they're going to have to nail a marquee recruit. Look, Kalen Ponga again has been linked with an exit. He needs to get the flip out of Newcastle, and Newcastle need to separate from that bloke immediately. He needs to say to them, I'll play out next year, and I'm going to Perth for 5 years for 1.5. Perth need to get someone like him in and build around. I get it. But if you're again, I go back to if you got Mal Meninga there and Sam Burgess, now maybe Burgess has got some pull with some current players, but all these teams I've seen, they're all fantasy. They're going to have to get players that aren't quite first grade ready. You know, they're going to have to go get the Blaze Talungis and the Yongis and that ilk of, geez, he's a talented kid.
And a great shout from you was Suafa'alonga, and go and get Jonah Pezzett.
Spot on. Like,
go and get Riley Pollard.
Yeah.
Actually, don't touch Riley Pollard.
Yeah, don't. But these are the players they're going to get. So anyone that was watching that and was getting excited, it's all fantasy. But we'll move on. Something I've seen all day today and last night, and look, you see it every year, is the origin period isn't fair. Player teams such as the Roosters, and God help them, my heart goes out, just have too many rep players, Terry, and they're not available for a couple of weeks. Are you as sad as I am for the Roosters specifically?
You know, my heart bleeds for them because at the beginning of the year, they mock other teams and saying, oh, you can't pull, you don't have star power, you don't have all these big recruits. And then when they have to go off and play, they're like, well, this isn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been the big believer that you find a 2-weekend period in the season and you shut it down. Okay. You select the 25-man squad. The first game's on a Saturday night. Then you play a Wednesday. Then you play a Sunday night. That is the best way that you'll get it. And in that time there, you can filter it with Tonga and Samoa and PNG and the Cook Islands.
Girls game.
And you can get the women's all-star game happening in that time as well, or you can get a women's game happening in that time. Like that is even the women's origin. Like throw that in there.
City Country, the under 20s, the women's under 20s. There are so many games to be played, but please go.
And you have a festival of rugby league. Imagine if you turned around and said, right, the last game is going to be Sunday 6:15 in that round, and then we're shutting it down. Everyone goes into camp on the Monday. They're training, and then the first game of this rep period is on the Saturday night. And it's New South Wales versus Queensland, and it's nothing else. And then every night there will be a game of rugby league until the following Sunday, where it's game 3. That would be sensational.
It would be incredible, and then
that would be like I've just solved it. I've solved the problem.
Well,
pay my invoice.
That's where I was going. Now, look, I am taking a few cracks tonight and pushing some agendas, just because what the hey, it's Origin time. It's time to have some fun. But this happens every single year. But it only seems to be when, say, the Roosters come up and poor us.
Paul Penrith.
Yeah, or Penrith. How many years have Brisbane ran out the baby Broncos? How many years? There was a year where Cronulla were running hot and had 5 players out playing for New South Wales, plus Val for Queensland. It happens. When players play well, I guarantee you in the preseason, they would have looked at the Bulldogs and thought, Max King's going to be playing Origin.
Yeah.
Or the Roosters go, that Robert Toyer, yeah, he's a... Look, the draw's not fair, right? It's ridiculous. You've got teams going in second buys before Cronulla have a buy next week. You got teams, again, Cronulla going Vegas to Perth to North Queensland. You got teams that haven't left their bubble. You got New Zealand going to and fro everywhere. The draw's not fair. You've just got to get through this. But my second point of this is Kiwi players are going to become a little bit better and a little bit more around Origin. Because you look at the Sharks, again, to use an example, Ronaldo, Nikora, Iro, Adam Fanua-Blake, all Kiwis. Can't play
Yeah.
Origin. Genius. But to a player who is playing Origin, perhaps shouldn't be, DCE has announced yesterday by the time this drops that he will play on in 2026. And there's 2 teams that he's talking to. Everything else is off the table. Those 2 teams are, of course, the Roosters and supposedly the Dolphins that he told to go away 3 weeks ago. Just sign for the bloody Roosters and get this over with.
Like, the more I think about it, the more Cherry Evans in a Dolphins jersey is actually pretty sick. Like him and Isaiah Katoa for a year or two, but I think Cherry Evans is looking at it now where he's like, my very first year in 2011, I won a premiership and I haven't been close since. Like, he's never even been back to a grand final.
Thanks.
And that's not a lasting thing for him. Now, if you have a look at both of those teams, I think even if they land his signature, you're not looking at a spot where, like, to me, that current Roosters team, adding Cherry Evans, I go, okay, moves the needle. Maybe they're 7th.
Robson, though?
Who?
Reece Robson?
Reece Robson. Yeah, I'm not here nor there on Reece Robson.
Okay.
Like, I don't think he's as out. Like, he's a solid Origin player because he's a workhorse and he's fit and he can tackle. But in terms of the NRL, he doesn't set up many tries. So, yeah, like maybe when he goes to the Roosters, he'll get a new lease of life. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is pretty much everyone's expected that Cherry Evans signed for him weeks and weeks ago before they even announced that he wasn't going to re-sign for the Manly. I think he's going the Roosters. I just think they need to end this because I think it's a distraction to Manly. I think it's a distraction to Origin to the point where former Origin players have said he needs to step down from Origin and get out. Obviously, if Billy Slater thought it was a problem, he wouldn't have picked him. Tom Dearden's pretty handy, so I'm not worried about that too much. And God, I hope he distracts Manly all season and they bottom out. Who cares? But in the interest of let's just get this done, he needs to go to the Roosters. Now, you mentioned it earlier. This could go one of 2 ways. Either he goes there and he Cooper Cronks and wins a couple of premierships, or he goes up there and takes $1 million. They lose Sandon Smith. Hugo Sabala goes elsewhere. Hello, new team. Sandon Smith could go to Perth and be their marquee number 7 for 10 years. Who knows? Yeah, like young Katoa at the Dolphins. This is a huge risk by the Roosters. I don't know if it's one I'd be taking. Now, they are a team that doesn't like to be bad for too long, and one season's too many. They've already got the New South Wales hooker. They're going for the Queensland number 7. This doesn't work. This is setting them back another few years.
Yeah, something tells me that he's not going to be there this year, but in 2026, Joey Manu would be running out in a Roosters jersey as well.
That makes sense.
I think they're going to go back to Manu and go, here's your money. This is Tedesco's last year. Just play 1 year in the centres and carve everybody out before you can go to fullback.
Completely fair. That would be frightening. But speaking of frightening, mate, mentioned earlier, using the wrong name, but Madge Maguire, the current Broncos coach. Trouble in paradise. We're hearing players come out and like Instagram stories about them being trained too hard. We've got certain players who do certain things with their fingernails and don't wear shirts that have been put off by being told to not do that. I don't have a thought either way, whatever, you are what you are. But when they got Madge Maguire, they had to know what was coming. This is a bloke who was kicked from the Tigers for training him too hard. The Bunnies roosted him after a grand final win because evidently he was too intense. He went in and whipped the New South Wales into shape. I guarantee you if he's coaching New South Wales win this upcoming Origin series 4-0, they'll be so dominant. I don't think he's a good fit at Brisbane. And I'll tell you what, a player, let's just call it, Reece Walsh, has just dropped an YouTube channel. Not the player I'd want to be doing it because if I'm keeping one on a short leash, it's him. I don't think he's long for the Broncos, mate.
Did you see the video that's just been circulating of Reece Walsh with the boxing glove on, knocking that bloke out who gave him a free shot?
No, I haven't. That's not ideal.
No, it's not. Look, I don't. It's at a point now where, like, I feel sorry for Michael Maguire because he has a reputation. He's a hard ass. He's old school. He played in an era where if you were late to training, you like got bins thrown at you, or you got put in the bin while everybody trained, or you had to go and cut your mate's toenails in front of everyone. Like he was a hard nosed, no nonsense kind of guy, and he doesn't know any other way. And so he goes to a club like Brisbane, who are full of discipline issues on and off the field, and they go, "We're going to bring in this hard guy." The hard guy comes in, they go, "Whoa, you're too hard." Like, what's the point? Wasn't like if you wanted a bloke who was going to get along with the players but be soft, you should just kept Kevin Walters.
Good point. Do you think it's a him problem, or do you think it's a mistake from Brisbane? Because everyone knows what he is, and he's come into a team that's Reece Walsh, great player, great dude by all accounts. Not exactly a guy known for training hard. Katoni Staggs is another one. Selwyn Cobbo can hardly be accused of, 200% effort. You got Adam Reynolds, who's injured every second week. Ezra Mann did what he did in the off-season. Like, I don't think it was a good match. And for players to come out and like tweets, and I mean, Marty Tapa'ua, if this was him 10 years ago, you go, oh, shit. Now it's like, who cares? He's like the 29th man of a 30-man roster. I just feel they made a huge error here.
Yeah, I mean, at the time when they signed him, I thought that's a really, really good signing, and then you forget what Brisbane are. And sure.
Yeah, but can you imagine if he goes to, say, Cronulla or the Titans, or a team that seem to have a little bit of, I know it's funny because the Titans are so bad, but they seem to have a little bit of fight, because if they didn't, they would have died 5 years ago. But or the Warriors, and then going, oh, he trains us too hard? I think it's a Brisbane thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a Michael Maguire thing. I think with South Sydney, that was the excuse to get him out to get Wayne Bennett. Obviously, right? They were just going to look for anything. They went down to the training session one day and they saw the boys running in the heat, and they're like, Michael Maguire's too hard, get him out. With the Tigers, they didn't know what they were doing. They had absolutely no idea what they were doing, who they were doing it with, or which way they were doing it. And they just said, you know what, we'll just use the same excuse that South's used. And now it's like Brisbane are doing the same thing. He said to the pretty boys, wear your shirts and wear your club sponsors where the media is. Now, when they train and it's gates closed and there's no cameras in there, shirts off.
Yeah, who cares?
Training your skins. But all he's asking for is a little bit of professionalism. When the cameras are around, boys, at least have a singlet on that has our colours, and it has the Kia on there, and it has Toyota forklifts, and it has every other sponsor that's paying your fucking wage on there. Now, the nail painting thing, I don't care, because you got to turn around and go, oh, you can't paint your nails, but have a look at some of the haircuts that run out on the weekend. So unless you're saying to everyone short back and sides, white teeth, and no nail polish, I don't think that's something you can police, but you definitely can turn around and go, like, a little bit of professionalism. I think Michael Maguire's a good coach, and we saw what he did at New South Wales. I think he'd probably be kicking himself that he left that New South Wales job, though, because he really only had to coach 3 games a year, and I guarantee you that he would have picked Terrell May.
100%. Now, we've gone an entire thing without mentioning him, because we could have led with that again. But looking forward to the Origin series, Terry. I reckon we get out of here, mate. But it's a huge week coming up on Zero Tackle.
It is a huge, huge week coming up on Zero Tackle, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Absolutely.
Hey, everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people of Zero Tackle, the one-stop shop for all things rugby league, where you can get up-to-date news, player contracts, transfer rumours. They're even starting to put monetary value next to these contracts, Dan. The best independent riders in the country, led by yourself. You got your 20 to 1, you've got your power rankings that make no sense, you got the 5 landing spots for whatever players coming on this week, you've got coaches going everywhere, you hate player managers. What have I missed?
Well, nothing. You've nailed it all. But
oh, sweet, let's go.
It's fun that you mentioned Terrell May a minute ago. An Origin snub, mate. I love an Origin snub. Scott and I are putting together the 10 biggest Origin snubs, not of all time, because it goes a long way back, but recent. So
yeah, the 10 biggest snubs of the NRL era would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, mate. There's some names on there you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about him. And there's some that you're like, what? He didn't play Origin? I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, make sure you check it out. I have a feeling it's going to be a monster week. And go the Blues.